Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I know you said don't hit the applause, but that's why I did.
Hey, everybody. You know what? You guys are far enough away. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Indie PopCon 2022, Day 1, the first podcast on the live podcast stage. We are the Stable Podcast. We are a discussion-style pro wrestling podcast. We do a lot of other conversation having as well. We talk about gaming on our other podcast, The Established Facts, which you'll have a chance to hear tomorrow around 4 o'clock. But while you're hanging out with us, especially those of you who are standing in line to meet our lovely guests that are here or hanging out at some of these tables and stuff, the chairs over here are extremely comfy, so if you get tired, come and join us and hang out. Now, do we have any professional wrestling fans that are kind of hanging out with it? We got one.
Yeah.
Anybody else who's two? We got a couple professional. Three. Do I have four? Do I have four horsemen?
Going auction style now.
Oh, no. Okay.
4 horsemen?
Okay. 4 horsemen?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, anyhow, I am your host, Big Don.
And this is Josh.
That's right. And again, like I said, we are the Stable Podcast. We're so glad that you guys came out to Indie PopCon 2022. We're excited to see just kind of how the convention is going to go forward. While you're hanging out with us over the next 30, 40 minutes or so, we're going to talk about a few different things that have happened recently in the professional wrestling world. And then we'll also talk a little bit about, I think, how professional wrestling translates into actually the setting that we're in right now in a convention setting. So, Joshy, why don't you go ahead and get us started with, I don't know, maybe our first subject matter of the most recent AEW pay-per-view.
So All Elite Wrestling.
Pay-per-view, right? Not live premium event.
Not a premium live event.
Okay.
You actually pay to watch theirs.
Gotcha. Okay.
Instead of pay Peacock.
That's right.
All Elite Wrestling, the new kids on the block. Not really. Over 3 years old, by the way.
3 years old. That's right. There are newer.
That's right. Just had their Double or Nothing pay-per-view, which is their annual pay-per-view.
I would say it's equivalent to their WrestleMania pay-per-view. It was the one that kind of kicked it off for AEW. Years ago. It was the first show they did in Chicago.
No.
Right?
No. So Double or Nothing was at Las Vegas first.
Oh, right.
Then
yes.
I don't know if you were aware, there's a pandemic that's happened the last couple of years.
What?
So they were in Florida for Dally's Place.
What?
And now they've come back to where it all started.
The big LV.
That's right, in Las Vegas. And their first show as a company was Double or Nothing 2019. And
that's right.
Then they went and did All Out in Chicago.
Right.
And then they went to television in October of 2019.
Yes.
So we saw them
in November of 2019 in Indianapolis.
Correct. And we have also saw them November 2021 in Indianapolis.
That's right.
And we went to All Out 2021.
That's right. In Chicago.
Double or Nothing was supposed to be quite a big deal because they were finally back in Vegas. They were in the T-Mobile Arena, which is a large arena in Las Vegas. And they did it was a great show. So normally we do an entire review episode, but there's been a lot going on and a lot still to go on this week.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to kind of quickly run through.
I want to highlight a couple of the matches that I really liked and figured you'd do the same, and then maybe talk a couple matches that could have been a little. How do we put it? Our least favorite.
Yes. So here a quick rundown of the results. The team of Danhausen and Hook defeated Tony Nese and Mark Sterling on the pre-show. We opened up the show with Maxwell Jacob Friedman versus Wardlow, with Wardlow powerbombing him 10 times to gain his freedom. The Young Bucks faced the Hardys in a pretty good match. Not their best match, but still a good match. The Hardys picked up the victory in that one. Next was the TBS Championship, pitting Jade Cargill, the undefeated TBS champion, versus Anna Jay. Jade Cargill remains undefeated and the TBS champion.
For better or for worse.
Also saw some debuts in that one with Stokely Hathaway joining as Jade Cargill's publicist. Not manager, publicist.
The former
Malcolm Bivens. As well as Athena Palmer, formerly known as Ember Moon, joins. Next, we have the trios match of the House of Black versus Death Triangle. The House of Black picked up the win after Julia Hart finally finished her heel turn and joined the House of Black.
Yep.
Next,
it's only taken
6 months almost.
I was going to say 6-8 months.
Yep. The Men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament final of Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole was next, and Adam Cole picked up the win. The Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament final was next with Dr. Britt Baker, D&D, versus Ruby Soho, with Dr. Britt Baker picking up the win over Ruby Soho. That was then followed up by Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Paige Van Sant versus Sammy Guevara, Frankie Kazarian, and Ty Conti, with Scorpio Sky picking up the win over Frankie Kazarian. Kyle O'Reilly and Darby Allin had a pretty decent match, with Kyle O'Reilly actually winning clean against Darby Allin. Thunder Rosa took on Serena Deeb for the AEW Women's World Championship, and Thunder Rosa retains in an excellent clinic. The Jericho Appreciation Society versus Eddie Kingston, Santana Ortiz, Bryan Danielson, and Jon Moxley took place in the Anarchy in the Arena match, which is worth the $50 price
alone.
Itself.
Yeah, alone. There was
stuff.
some.
We'll get back.
The blood centers of America need to contact them and ask them why they didn't just show up for a donation.
Right, just walk around and drip it down into a bucket. Yeah,
crazy.
With the Jericho Appreciation Society picking up the win. Next, we had a triple threat AEW Tag Team Championship match of the Jurassic Express versus Team Taz of Ricky Starks and Willie Hobbs versus Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, with the Jurassic Express actually picking up the win, which was probably the most surprising result of the evening.
Yep, I agree.
And then finally, the main event, which they purposefully pushed after midnight so that the Western Conference final? No, Eastern Conference finals were able to finish. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics, I believe is who won that one. They pushed the main event of Hangman Adam Page, the AEW World Champion, versus CM Punk, with CM Punk picking up the win and becoming the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
That's the longest rundown of a pay-per-view I have ever done. There were 13 matches that night.
Yeah, that was a crazy card.
They made $50 stretch. Put it that way.
So it's interesting because it's a card that has 13 matches like that makes me understand why when other companies like WWE book WrestleMania with 13 matches that they do it in 2 nights.
Yeah.
Because they could have very easily split the pay-per-view in half. But it was I thought it was well worth the price of admission, as they say.
Well, and according to Dave Meltzer, Tony Khan purposefully bought an additional hour of time and booked those, like the Darby Allin match and the Paige Van Zandt debut, so that Martha Hart, who did the presentation for Adam Cole and Britt Baker, could have however much time she wanted.
Yeah.
Which Martha Hart is the wife of the late Owen Hart. For those who do know what happened to him, he did die in a horrible accident 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 30.
Yeah.
But and Martha has always kind of stayed out of the wrestling thing, but always knew how much it meant for Owen. So Tony Khan made this happen. They made some beautiful belts they have as trophies, and then they have an Owen Hart cup that Britt Baker and Adam Cole will now be etched into permanently. So in terms of let's do least favorite first.
Sure.
I honestly think that Kyle O'Reilly, Darby Allin was probably the one that I could have done without, only because I felt like it was just not. It had no real purpose.
It was It was kind of a placeholder match. You could tell that it was a placeholder match.
Very much would have fit well on a Rampage or a Dynamite.
Yes.
I just don't know if it necessarily was needed. Nothing against Kyle O'Reilly, Darby Allin, and if Darby Allin, who already has all the momentum in the world, can take a loss to Kyle O'Reilly, that says something about Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
What about you?
Man, I think emotionally, my least favorite match was the Britt Baker Ruby Soho match, but it was not the worst match of the night. The reason that it was my least favorite is because I'm a Ruby Soho mark, and I really wanted her to win. But the match was incredible, and it was probably one of the best matches of the night. So I'm not going to count that. I just wanted to voice my sad-hearted opinion.
Fair.
But I would say I agree with you. I could I could put the Jade Cargill match in there probably for myself, but I think that my least favorite match probably was the Kyle O'Reilly Darby Allin, because I love both of those guys. They're both fantastic competitors in the ring. They both have great skills on the mic, but I agree with you. I think that the match would have been a better place on a Dynamite or AEW Dark or what, you know what I mean? Like if they're looking to try and push Kyle as a singles component or a singles opponent, a singles
competitor,
star, thank you, competitor, person, a single
place or thing,
a
single noun,
a singular wrestler. I think that there are better avenues to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then probably most memorable, I thoroughly am excited at CM Punk being the world champion and look more forward to Adam Page being champion again.
Yeah.
But the Anarchy in the Arena match, particularly the fact that they used that Wild Thing kept playing.
Yeah, until Jericho ripped the cable out of the computer.
And got the best heat I've ever seen in
it was
pro
good.
wrestling because of it.
It was good.
There were just so many moments in that. However, somebody needs to remind Eddie Kingston that this is a scripted product. Because
the fact that he came out with a gas can and dumped, quote unquote, gasoline on Chris Jericho and then pulled out, I couldn't tell if it was,
there was a lighter
or if it was matches, or was it a lighter?
Oh, it was a lighter.
And then Bryan Danielson,
his tag partner,
stops him, and then they get into a fight. Yeah, it was good stuff. That was a really, really good match. I would say my favorite was probably Death Triangle versus House of Black.
That's a good choice.
That was just a really solid match for both teams, and because I am a huge proponent to the idea of them introducing trios titles, and I think that those two teams, as well as the Dark Order, and potentially Jurassic Express, if Christian wants to jump in as a trio partner, would be good. A good four-way split, and then of course you have like Red Dragon, and you have eventually when
for your the hope for
trios
title?
yeah for trios. I think there's a lot of really good trio teams, and I think that having a trios title also puts them in a unique position and a niche position compared to other organizations that don't have a trios title, and I think that that's really, really cool.
Well, something that hasn't been talked about, because the question of a trios title being introduced in AEW is something that's been talked about since AEW was a thing. But Ring of Honor always had a trios title. So before Ring of Honor was bought by Tony Khan, and currently I don't think their trios title is officially a title right now. I think it's just the television, women's, world, and tag titles. My question there would be, do you make the trios title like a cross-brand title?
I think that would be really good, especially if your prospect is to turn Ring of Honor into a training ground of sense. If you're using it for development purposes, I think that would be a really great idea.
Yeah. I'm down for a trios title. So let's see.
So skipping ahead,
because I don't know the full card, but there's a couple of things that we can at least sort of talk about for the upcoming WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view.
So what we have so far on the card. Yeah. So what we have so far on the card.
Premium live event
on the card. We have Judgment Day, which is Finn Balor. We have The Club, which is Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and Liv Morgan, also a huge Mark IV, against the Judgment Day, who is Edge, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley. They have a six-person mixed tag match on the card for Hell in a Cell. They have Austin Theory, who is the U.S. champ.
His name is Theory.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Against Ali.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a first name anymore either.
Even though on here it says Mustafa.
Yeah, I know.
It says Mustafa Ali, but it's Ali.
Yeah.
So Theory and Ali, two single-name competitors going against each other for a belt. Then there's...
That's a mid-card championship on a premium live event?
No.
No?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then you have Ezekiel,
That's right.
the twin brother of Elias.
Yes, the younger brother.
The younger
Elias,
brother, that's right. Versus Kevin Owens, singles match.
which has to be good.
Right. You have a 2-on-1 handicap match of Bobby Lashley versus Omos and MVP, which I am actually really excited about because I want to see MVP go.
Yeah, I want to see MVP get his
He will.
neck wrecked.
He will. But I still want to see him go.
Sure.
I want to see him in his Power Rangers get up, and I want to see him go. So then we have a triple threat match for the WWE Raw Women's title with Bianca Belair, who is the standing champion, Asuka, and Becky Lynch, the man, Becky Lynch, or whatever. I don't remember what her moniker is right now.
Big Time Bex.
Big Time Bex, that's right. And then finally you have a Hell in a Cell match against Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins in Hell in a Cell.
Which is legit. Like, there are a lot of good matches that you just listed.
Yes.
But that match is
Yes.
the only reason I plan to tune in.
Yep.
Even if I'm turning it on at 10 o'clock Sunday.
Well, I really want to see the mixed tag, the mixed
your
six-person
that,
tag.
yeah, okay.
I really want to see that. And MVP. The other matches that are on here I think will be good, especially the triple threat for the WWE Women's title. I mean, you got Asuka, you got Big Time Bex, and you got Bianca Belair. All three of those women are incredible athletes, incredible workers.
Do you see what's currently missing from that card?
Yes, a world title match of any kind.
And any superstar from SmackDown.
There's no. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
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 So there's a rumor that tonight on SmackDown, which is when we're recording this, they may go ahead and announce a tag title match, but Roman's not on the card.
Right. Roman's not on the card. There is no tag match at all.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but
there's not even a intercontinental match, which I mean, it is what it is. But
that's why I made the joke about the mid card title. Like,
no, but that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
but then again, Intercontinental is on SmackDown.
So are they actually? Is there an actual brand split now?
That's a great question.
Is Hell in a Cell the first
Raw
exclusive pay-per-view with premium live event?
Well, if that's what they do, but Money in the Bank is cross-promotional, does that mean the one after Money in the Bank is SmackDown?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. That is a revelation and a half.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay. So, all right, we made it about 18 minutes in.
Woohoo!
The real news this week is Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry, as he said, is Max Friedman.
Max Friedman.
I love it. We got our audience guys correcting me. Thank you.
Yeah.
For those who didn't watch Dynamite this Wednesday, the first Dynamite after Double or Nothing, if you're trying to figure this out, I would look on YouTube and Twitter for Maxwell Jacob Friedman's MJF's pipe bomb promo. Because it's about 7 minutes of professional wrestling promo gold.
Yeah, it's gold. I watched it before we got up here, and my favorite line, and probably the line that hit the hardest in his promo, in my opinion, is, "I'm tired of Tony Khan paying all this money to ex-WWE superstars. Hey, Tony, would you pay me more if I was an ex-WWE superstar?" And I lost it.
It was so good.
So good. And the answer is yes, but
Probably. So to give a little bit of background for that, for those that are not aware of what is apparently going on, because this is what makes this so amazing is we can honestly right now tell you we're not sure how much of this is a work or how much of this is a shoot.
everything is a work.
Yes.
But sometimes it's real.
Yeah. So the rumors for the last couple of months is that MJF is unhappy in his position in AEW because they've been bringing in guys formerly of WWE and paying those guys a lot more money than he's apparently been paid.
Yeah.
And for some of them, like your CM Punks, your Bryan Danielsons, it's understandable, and he's not mad about that.
Yeah.
He's upset about the guys like the Christian Cage, who barely wrestles, the Mark Henry, who doesn't wrestle, or
probably Paul White, people like that.
Yeah,
who are,
the guys that are now
they have a name, but they're not active.
Are apparently making more money than he is.
Yep.
And he wants a pay raise. However, he doesn't want to extend his contract. That's the story that's going on. And then the counter to that is apparently Tony Khan is willing to pay him more money as long as he extends his contract, which from a business sense makes all the sense in the world. Fast forward to Double or Nothing weekend. And on Saturday, MJF is set to do a scheduled appearance and signing, which if you've ever seen MJF do a signing, he does just show up and sign things while berating the fans.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I equate it to if you have ever been to has anybody ever been to a Renaissance festival? Anybody out here in the audience ever been to a Ren fair at all? No? Okay. So at a lot of Ren fairs, they have somebody who is shackled up in a stockade yelling all sorts of mean things at the people that are walking by because you can pay them to throw fruit at them. That's exactly what that feels like.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's a photo floating around of him giving the bird to like a 12-year-old.
Yes.
That's one of the funniest things.
If you've ever seen MJF at a convention or at an expo or at a show of any kind, all he does is just talk trash to everyone that comes by him, and it is the greatest thing in the world.
So what's interesting about that is he didn't show up on Saturday, and apparently, this is why I'm saying the lines have been blurred. Apparently, AEW was unable to get a hold of him. And then at some point in the night, a story leaked.
It's interesting what happens if you turn your phone off.
Yeah. At some point in the night, it was leaked that a flight was set up for him to leave from Las Vegas to New Jersey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that we believe that one right there, especially where we're at the moment, that has pretty much been confirmed to be leaked on purpose, to get people talking. So people weren't sure if he was going to show up to Double or Nothing. Well, not only did he show up, he was the opening match, and he did business. He lost to Wardlow, which he should have done.
He took 5. Wardlow put his foot on him, counted to 2, and then walked away before the 3 count, and then powerbombed him 5 more times.
Yes. 10 power bombs to one of the safest workers and probably best performing workers that AEW currently has, just so Wardlow can get over.
Here's what I'm going to say this, and Deb's not here. So I know that I still have her praises even though she's not here. After Wednesday night, right now, MJF is the best heel in the business.
Oh, no,
Period.
Yes, I'm with you.
Period.
And I have no problem saying that, and will tell my wife the same thing.
Yes. Let her know that I said that.
This is probably the first time all 3 of us have come into agreement on this particular moment.
Right now, he does not need a title belt. He does not need a silver cup with his name etched on it. He doesn't even need a contract.
Yeah.
He is the best heel in the business right now.
So if this is a work like it appears to be, they set up Wednesday night. Wednesday they were at the Forum in Los Angeles. There were, I think they said 14,000 people there.
Something like that. It was packed.
The highest attendance wrestling show thus far in 2022 that was not a pay-per-view or premium live event.
Right.
For both companies.
Yeah, it was massive.
And they billed it as the Warner executives, which are now under the Warner Discovery banner, were in attendance because they were throwing a party for the superstars afterwards. The wrestlers afterwards. They're superstars in WWE.
Chris Jericho.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He is a sports entertainer.
Anyways, MJF basically goes on to say that The superstars in the back can't lace his boots. The fans put up with a lot of BS, and they love it and cheer for it. AEW started out as All Friends Wrestling, but he never got in on that, so he had to make his own ticket, and he kept doing it on and on. And he ultimately called out Tony Khan at least 2 or 3 different times about not putting out enough money, paying ex-WWE guys more money. A comment you made earlier, totally
so good. So much heat behind it, too. It was so good.
And on TNT, because they're a TV 14 rating, some of the cursing is allowed in the United States. And if you have Fight TV in Europe, this was a profanity-ridden thing. Because
and there's a good section of like 3 to 5 seconds where it is literally just
solid beeps.
Solid beep tone.
Yeah. In the United States. It was uncensored across the pond.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure.
And in parts of Canada. So at the end, he looked square into the camera and told Tony Khan, I don't want to wait till 2024. I want you to fire me.
Yeah.
And he called him an MF and Mark.
Yeah.
And an MFer like a couple of different times, to where they ultimately cut his mic and then blacked the entire arena and went to commercial.
Yeah.
So something you didn't see, which is why I wanted to show this off. After they went to commercial.
Yes.
Matt Jackson was standing on the stage just shaking his head like, what in the world just happened? And CM Punk came out without a shoe on to kind of confront Maxwell, and then Max left to the audience. The reason I wanted to talk about this, here were 26 minutes. Besides, of course, just this is the news. Like, this is the thing that is on people's minds. If this is the work that it appears to be, this is AEW's Austin McMahon moment. If they make this work. And I understand, well, you're just repeating the same thing. You know what? They might be repeating the same thing. And sometimes the best stories deserve to be repeated.
Yeah. There's nothing new under the sun. Why wouldn't you repeat a storyline that works, especially with a company that is really successful in bringing a new spin on a lot of old storyline?
Yes. I believe that at either All Out or Full Gear, MJF will beat CM Punk for the world title and leave with it. I believe he will do the same thing that Punk did to John Cena, and it'll turn into him coming back with a bigger contract, and it's going to be so similar, but it'll be so well thought out.
So then do they work it to where they're going to fire him, or that he's going to leave, or like behind the scenes, where is the actual real life tether to this? Like,
I don't
he's
know.
just going to still be under contract and then write his contract out or renegotiate and take a break for a little while? Or
I feel like Punk is not. First off, we got to deal with Forbidden Door, which CM Punk is going to fight Tanahashi at Forbidden Door for the World Championship.
My goodness.
Okay? We got to deal with that, which makes me think that Punk is going to be, not Punk, MJF will be off television at least through Forbidden Door. Don't use him on Forbidden Door at all. Doesn't make any sense to you. Keep him off television. Act like he doesn't exist. Which, they've removed his Shop AEW stuff.
Yeah.
They've removed him from the roster page.
Yeah.
So they are acting like he's been fired, but they've not announced his firing.
Yeah.
The other thing blew my mind, they were doing the little 2 and 3 minute clips on Twitter through Dynamite. Like, I was sitting in a hospital waiting room with my mom, another conversation, and watching this go by on Twitter. After he finally went off the deep end, they removed all the tweets. AEW removed all reference to this thing. So they are making this as shoot work as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that really will tie this whole thing in a bow, I could be corrected that he's not going to walk away with it, but Punk is going to want MJF for the way he's talking about the company, because Punk is trying to be like, I'm trying to show that I am the representative of this company, and he's going to want that match with Maxwell because he's already beaten Max in the dog collar match. And Max beat him in Chicago once already. Like this feud is the feud of 2022.
Yeah, I agree. And they're halfway through the year, which is good because then they can basically wind it up until September, October.
And if you do it all out,
yeah.
And if they are in Chicago again, which there's talks that they may move it somewhere else, because they're doing Forbidden Door at the United Center, they may move it somewhere else just to disperse the events. But if you do it at an event in Chicago again, and then have Punk take the loss in Chicago, if he didn't already have nuclear heat,
yeah.
If MJF walks out with the title and then is gone for like 6 months.
Yeah, and I think what would be a really interesting thing for them to do is if they did that and he left, AEW has not established a defense, at least not on live TV, a defense clause where you have to defend the title at X amount of days. Well, what do? Well, you let MJF go off and ride into the sunset with the title belt for 6 months. Let him have some time off, under his new contract or whatever. Behind the scenes, you do all the negotiation and all the work and stuff like that. You put MJF in the place that he belongs, which is at the top of the card.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have, because AEW does this really well, and they have gone crazy with them, you have a tournament for the new heavyweight title holder.
Possibly with a new belt, which I don't
think they need to change the belt. I like the belt. But then you have, like they do in the UFC, where there's a title match that somebody signs, but then the person who is the title holder gets injured or something like that, so they can't do it. So then you have number 2, and you have the next guy fighting for the interim belt.
Yep.
And then you have a unification. Well, if you do that, that brings the stakes up even higher, because now not only are you fighting for a rubber match between MJF and CM Punk, but you're fighting to solidify the heavyweight title again, and then you have MJF win it in Chicago. Now not only has he proven that he's the champ, but he's proven he's the champ against somebody like CM Punk in Chicago. I think that it sells itself.
It does. And I know, look, we're not promoters, but Tony Khan is such a
yes, we are.
Okay, it's such a student of the game.
Yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned the possible change in title, you may not know this, but when Ric Flair showed up in WWF with the big gold belt, it was because he, as part of his contract with the NWA, WCW at the time, he had to put down a down payment to carry the belt, like 10 or 15 grand.
Yeah, like a deposit.
Yeah, and NWA wasn't giving him it back. So he just walked away. He's like, fine, it's mine.
Yeah.
So WCW had to introduce a new title, which is where you see that circular WCW title that Ron Simmons and Vader carried. Yeah. Before they were ultimately able to bring it back and unify it and bring the big gold back again. As big a fan as Tony Khan has been of WCW, I could totally see him doing that type of a thing here and merging all of these, the big superstar. Because here's what's different with McMahon and Austin. Austin was the face.
Mm-hmm.
And not because I think MJF has crowd sympathy, even if we're booing him right now.
I think that what's interesting is even if you're a fan of Tony Khan and a fan of AEW, you have to at least commiserate with the idea, and everybody has made this, even you and I have made this comment before, about is Tony Khan hiring too many people, and is his roster getting too thick to where he can't actually work the talent that he has. I mean, even Evil Uno has mentioned that he wants to be able to, like, he likes the idea that there are so many people in the Dark Order and that they're able to kind of mix people around, but he wants bigger and better things for himself and for that organization, and he's not even, I would say Evil Uno is a mid-card guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if everybody feels that pressure, and what makes MJF's words so cohesive to the feeling of the people that are watching the content is that we, to some extent, feel very similar to how he feels. When Thanos wants to rid the universe of half of its population, we kind of understood why. Not that we agreed, but we kind of understood why. And that's what makes a great bad guy, is when you can also commiserate on that same level. And I think that that's a really good play for them.
It's going to be interesting, and it is going to be something we're going to hear about for a while. But right now, I think the smart play is just keep it shut till after Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
After Forbidden Door, it's going to stir itself back up. Or you're just going to hear little teases here or there. Or Maxwell's going to show up in the audience or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's this guy? Like, or, I hope he doesn't do the dumb thing like Hogan where he showed us Mr. USA or Mr. America, whatever his name was. I'm so fascinated by it because there's a lot of interesting realities going on right now. AEW wrestlers are seriously considering taking a shot back at WWE because of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes got a better contract, he got better benefits, and he's getting an opportunity to go after the world title. Even though he kind of put himself in that situation to not get the world title shot at AEW, he has already commented that number one, he wants the world title, but number two, that he jumped into the EVP role too early for him and his family. And I'm sure there's more that went on behind the scenes.
And Cody Rhodes is a wrestler.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes wants to wrestle.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody who has a criticism for him has to at least take into consideration whether their words are right or wrong or just opinionated or not. They have to take at least into consideration that Cody Rhodes, like Bryan Danielson, like CM Punk, he is a wrestler and he wants to wrestle.
Yeah. And because he wants that world title, because his dad didn't get it, and he wants the world title. Because his dad, at the time, the world title was the NWA World Championship. It was. That was the world title, currently held by Matt Cardona.
Right.
And now the world title, whatever anybody wants to say, is either the Universal or WWE Championship. And frankly, it's the WWE Championship. Like, it is the one named after the company that is the big dog in the world right now. It is the World Championship. And that's coming. I am an AEW mark through and through, but I'm a WWE fan too.
We're wrestling marks.
We just are.
We're wrestling marks. Okay. We like indie stuff. We like New Japan stuff,
AEW wrestlers are seriously considering a jump back to WWE because of the way they've handled Cody Rhodes. And I think the stuff that MJF has said, and Paul Heyman got asked this, there's a great interview about this. Paul Heyman is under the impression that what MJF is doing right now is great for MJF. He would not specifically do that himself. Like, he doesn't like to talk contracts and this along those lines. But the reason why it's good for MJF is because his character would do this stuff. Not necessarily Max, but because his character would do. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to facing Seth Rollins. My contract's up in 2024. Like, and just planting those seeds, because now you're thinking about it. Like, is he really going to leave AEW? Like, and whether he does or doesn't, what he's done now, and I think Tony Khan is totally behind it, it's ultimately going to be a work, is that he's got the attention. He's going to get that contract bump. I think Max is going to extend his contract because he's going to get a significant pay raise. I suspect he'll be in the realm of a Bryan Danielson very soon if he's not already and we just don't know about it. Because if they took his stuff off the shop and he was making royalties, he's definitely getting paid for that.
Yeah.
If he's still under contract. So,
and I know that, like, in real life, one of the discussion points about his contracting is that he came in under the same or similar developmental contract that a lot of other wrestlers came in at the start of AEW. So he was originally, it wasn't like he's always been making less money.
Right.
Like, originally he was making the same amount of money as other people that were, Jungle Boy and people that are AEW pillars, Sammy Guevara, those guys who are now household names in AEW. The difference has been
I thought MJF was replaced by Britt Baker.
Well, I mean, that's not wrong. But I mean, that's my point. This is you have people like Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, woo woo, or you have people like Sammy Guevara. You have people who have come into the company at the same level as MJF, and whether you like it or not, when you look at heel work, when you look at wrestling work, and you look at apples to apples, Sammy Guevara versus MJF, I love Sammy Guevara, and I think he's fantastically talented in the ring. But I can tell you that MJF, whether he has 6 moves in his arsenal like a John Cena or he has 26 moves in his arsenal like he does, he's a better character than and I love Sammy Guevara, but he is a better character right now, and he deserves to have that recognition. And I think that it's probably just something that the AEW behind the scenes has maybe dragged their feet on a little bit, and I think it's great that they're using it as a work. Because that's 100% what they're doing right now, is they're using it as a work. And they will continue to use it as a work until he's either not working for the company anymore or he decides to go a different direction with his character,
Well, there's still, I'm sure we could continue talking, but we're kind of reaching up on time here. Wrestling is really good right now. NWA is getting ready to do an event called Always Ready. I think GCW has lost a little bit of steam, but even they're still out there. Apparently, at some point in time recently, Joey Janela went.
I was just about to say there were talks, which they were talking about this on What Culture a couple of days ago, with the MJF thing. Of what if his big thing is he wants to control his narrative. And they said it passively.
Of course.
And I was like, that's enough of a seed to be nuts.
Well, yeah, look, I've heard Adam Scher make comments about Tony Khan that were not the best. But if you were willing to work that out, control your narrative, that whole premise that EC3 has fits the MJF character.
100%.
And could be interesting, but there's nobody watching Control Your Narrative. I mean, nothing against that, but they don't have the market at the moment.
Right.
Impact is getting ready to celebrate their 20th year.
Yeah.
At Slammiversary. They're bringing back some old school TNA guys that are scheduled to be at the show. I just saw that Bully Ray is going to be doing commentary, I think, for one of the matches at Always Ready for NWA. Bully Ray is on Busted Open Radio with Dave LaGreca and Thunder Rosa.
Yep.
There's so much good going on in wrestling right now, and I hope it continues. And it has to. It's amazing.
All right.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys all for hanging out with us for our episode number 13. Here live at Indie PopCon 2022. Doing a little bit of review on some of the things going on in the pro wrestling world right now. Please join us tomorrow, I can't even remember the dates.
The 4th.
Thank you, the 4th. We're going to be doing a live broadcast or a live podcast or a live recording or a live...
It's a live recording.
Thing.
If you're in person at PopCon, which
4 o'clock tomorrow.
4 o'clock.
Here. 4 on the 4th. Oh, nice. Exactly. So our Established Facts podcast, we're going to be talking about some different gaming things and stuff like that. And make sure you get a chance to walk around the convention and check some different things out. I have a 3 count if we're ready for it.
Do it.
All right, cool. So very quick explanation. As any good wrestling match ends with a 3 count, we also end with a 3 count. So we're going to holler out the number 1. And then we're all going to repeat 1, and then I'll say the 3 count, and it'll be lots of fun. So here we go. All right, Brandon is getting in his seat. Ready, Brandon? All right, here we go. Indie PopCon is the best premium live event in Indianapolis. 1. That's all right. It's okay. You're new to the game. We have something in common with Tony Khan. We're simple marks. 2. MJ, Mother F. 3. Thank you guys so much for joining us on episode 13 of the Stable Podcast. Come and see us over at booth 423 if you're here at Indie PopCon. Otherwise, we will check you later.
Bye.
Deuces.